I'm not talking about understanding you. I'm talking about understanding the other side. And you're going to probably feel reactive listening to that if you're in one of these difficult divorces, because why should you care about the other side? They haven't cared about you forever. They're just putting you aside. Who's going to put me first? What are you talking about? And that defensiveness, that emotional defensiveness is not going to really get us anywhere if we want to be persuasive. Welcome to Getting Divorced Without Losing Your Mind. I am Corey Shapiro. I'm here to help you work on your divorce, not in it. Here to help you become more creative and less reactive. That's really what I hope everyone's going through a divorce, to be clear, less reactive, and it's so hard to do. And that's why we're focusing on today on this concept of understanding as a power move. As a power move. Now, I was in court recently and the court was not listening to me at all, or I was trying to get a word in. They weren't really ever giving me a word in because they wanted to do it their way. And, I'm getting a little bit more skillful at this, trying to convince people who don't really even want to hear you. And I said, Judge, in a very soft voice, Judge, just give me 30 seconds. Now, it's going to be a little bit more 30 seconds than this podcast, but just a few minutes. And why I'm setting this up is when we talk about understanding, I'm not talking about understanding you. I'm talking about understanding the other side. And you're going to probably feel reactive listening to that if you're in one of these difficult divorces, because why should you care about the other side? They haven't cared about you forever. They're just putting you aside. Who's going to put me first? What are you talking about? And that defensiveness, that emotional defensiveness is not going to really get us anywhere if we want to be persuasive. All right, so just give me a little bit and we'll get into this, why this is important. And we're building on this through the season. So if you're new to this season and you're just hearing this now, start off with the earlier episodes. You really got to get into the right headspace, and especially with the 24-hour pause, getting a little clarity, creating your boundaries, and then even our last episode about the difference between fantasy and reality. So I'm putting you in this spot now to understand how to get what you want. Now, not all the time. It's not guaranteed. We're just increasing the likelihood. Okay, increasing the likelihood. So just give me a few minutes and we're going to get into this. Now, why is this so important? Now, first of all, you have to understand that a lot of what we do when we're aggressive, when we come off as bullying, when we hide assets, when we don't turn over discovery, whatever terrible situation you have in your divorce, it comes out of a defensive place. For eons, our predecessors, millions of years, were prey. Like deer, that's what we were, prey for all the other animals. It's only been since recently, very recently, just in the last, I think, 50,000 years, out of millions of years, have we been the apex predator. But our brains are still evolved as deer. We're still prey animals. So we still have a lot of fear, aggression. I read a good book on this weekend that really hits the point home. It's by Dr. Kurt Gray. It's called Outraged. It's a little different topic, but he got it down really great. And just think of this. If you never had money your whole life and you're scrounging and your family, all the generations never had any money for generation and generation, and then let's say you're 85 years old and finally, boom, maybe you win the lottery, millions of dollars. Right there, you don't necessarily have an abundant mindset. You still might have a scarcity mindset, right? Because even though you're wealthy at 85, how much longer do you have, really? And all of your genetics were built up being scarcity and poor. So that's what we were. We were just that. So when you see a lot of this behavior, this aggressive behavior, realize it's coming out of a sense of protection. In another context, it's called fear aggression. I get that with my dog. She barks at me. She gets mad at me when I leave. She has separation anxiety. She's not being aggressive. I mean, it looks like she's being aggressive. I mean, she's only 10 pounds, but it's fear aggression. It comes from a different place than like a prey animal. Like if we were in the woods and a bear's coming after us. It's different. It's different. Okay, now, we're not doing this because we're so nice. We're not trying to try to understand the other side because we're so nice. We want to be understood. That's why we need that self-care. We want to be understood. But they don't care about us until we care about them. It's like we have to give them what they want to get what we want. So that's what's really so important in this concept. And the other thing you have to understand, this is the stepping stone. We're going to get there in later episodes. This is the stepping stone for persuasion. So if you've been following along, I put you in the right space. You got a little break from that 24-hour pause, created some boundaries. You're focused on the reality, not just based on fantasies. And you're starting to work on your divorce, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day, just working on your divorce. Maybe 5 minutes a day if you could do that. I play piano and, 10 minutes a day is tight. It's tough. I do it. Not every day, but I would say at least 4 to 5 times a week. I'm playing 10 minutes a day and I've been doing that for years. And think of me as that coach, just getting you going because we're trying to get 1% better. We're not trying to play Carnegie Hall if we're playing, piano. Just 1% better. And that's what we're trying to do. All right. So let me give you an example in the divorce world to help you with this. Now, let's say you want custody. Now, you want primary custody. You want sole custody, right? That's a position. And the other side might backlash. They don't want to give you sole custody because they're going to be disenfranchised. They don't necessarily want to be the primary parent, but they don't want to be disenfranchised. So now what do you really want when you're asking for primary parent? If you're the type of parent who just was the primary parent, you want the status quo to continue. You want to make all these decisions. Also, you really don't want to deal with your ex because that's why you're getting divorced. And why are they meddling in your life? They didn't meddle for all the years you were married. You want freedom. You want peace. Now, is there another way to get that? See, now that's an interest, freedom and peace. A position is sole custody. But it's just one of many positions. Maybe a more creative way to do this in that context is how can I get the other side to go my way? I have to give them what they want. Well, what do they want? They don't really want to be with the children. They didn't really were involved with the children all those years to the degree you do. But maybe they want to feel connected. Maybe they want to feel informed. Maybe they want to feel respected. We're at their interests. And how do we get their interests? How can we meet their interests? Is there another way to do it? Well, just thinking creatively here, just off the top of our heads, why don't we kill them with kindness? Why don't we give them more information than they even wanted? Why don't we set up Google calendars, put everything on there? Why don't we give them maybe, digital photos of every event? You're doing this because you're filling that need they have, that unmet need to feel connected. And maybe with all these photos and the Google Calendar, they can come in and, when they want. Now they feel a part of something. And maybe you could agree on joint custody. And maybe they'll just leave you alone because you filled their need. They never really wanted to bother you in the first place. They didn't bother you for all these years. That's a way to do it. Now, it's not going to work in every situation, and maybe your custody situation is a little different than this, but it's just one way of thinking about this to help you, reduce your transaction costs in your divorce and move you on to your post-divorce life. Think about a knot. Those knots, I have no patience untying it. Thankfully, my wife, Bridget, she does, but the harder you pull, like me, it's harder to untangle. Sometimes you got to relax to untangle that knot. All right, it's time for our reset question. Now, next time your ex or soon-to-be ex does something that frustrates you, ask this question. How would I respond if I believed this behavior came from pain rather than malice? Pain rather than malice. Remember, we're just prey animals. We're not the predators. All right, so bottom line, understanding's not about winning. We're about reducing conflict. We're lowering divorce transaction costs. We're getting insight in how to be more persuasive. And that's how we get this going. That's how we rise to another level. That's how we get you on to your better life. So thanks for joining. This is Corey Shapiro, helping you become more creative, less reactive in your divorce.
Thank you for tuning in to the Getting Divorced Without Losing Your Mind podcast. We would love to hear your feedback. Send Corey an email to feedback@gettingdivorced.org. And if you've read his book, please consider leaving an Amazon review. This podcast offers general information only. It cannot replace legal advice. If you need tailored advice, contact an attorney licensed to practice in your area.